Good morning. It's Vijay here. Today is Friday, 12th September 2021. Welcome to yet another episode of Pre-Market Commentary. Yesterday was a grim battle between the Bulls and Bears. Finally, the Bulls prevailed and the Nifty closed about 25,000, which is some sort of a minor victory, but it's a long way to go because at every level there are Bears sitting 25,000, 25,200. Probably about 25,300 is when the Bears will finally succumb. So that's some more distance. Now, in the interim, what has happened is that for 7 consecutive days, the Nifty has gone up. So, how would anybody call it a bear market when a lot of big analysts or commentators, market commentators, think we are in a bear market? At best, you can call it a sideways grinding market, which many people might not have seen. But if you have been in the market for about 30 years, like I have been, then this is par for the course. So, it pays to be positive. Now, for the very short term, the market may go up because globally markets are doing very well. India is the laggard. Now, yesterday, for the very short term, you got a big boost through Infosys board meeting, which have announced that they'll buy back what 18,000 crores and at 1,800 rupees is the buyback offer. Now, one way of looking at it is fantastic. It's because the Nifty is trading at 1,500. 1,800 is some distance away. So a lot of people may buy in the market and try to tender it for the buyback. Not everything will get bought. So they have a limit. So it is not going to be so easy that you just buy and make the arbitrage difference of 1,800 minus 1,500. Also, taxation angle plays a big role there because the difference is considered as a dividend. Please consult your tax advisor. I'm just giving you what I have picked up from the net. So now I call it value destruction. Now, in the short term, it's like, a patient who is very ill is being given a shot of glucose. Suddenly he gets excited and it shows, brightness on his face. But at the end of the day, the patient gets ill, much more ill, because that is not the medicine for the patient. Similarly, IT industry today is being challenged on all fronts. And what are these guys doing? IT industries want to buy back and keep and prop up the share. Now, incidentally, Infosys this is the fifth buyback. The last four buybacks, for instance, have done something for the share. I think we're looking at the pattern. At least if you look at the last two buybacks, the pattern is around 1,400 rupees. When the stock falls close to 1,400 rupees, the buyback happens. So the first buyback, I mean, the last, if you like, just take last two buybacks. The first buyback, of course, happened in 2017, 2019. The prices went up subsequently. In 2021, the price was around 1,400 and odd. When they pushed the buyback at 1,750, it did go up, but that time there was, the low. I mean, overall markets were moving up. So IT moved up during that time, and then after that, the 2022, 23, again the price was around 1,400, 1,500. That seems to be the floor, as I mentioned. And then they said they'll buy back at 1,850, and that price took off because again that was a part of the bullish market. And then subsequently it has come back to 1,500. So if you really look at it, we have come back to where the price was before the third buyback. So third buyback, which was in 2021, fourth was at 2022. So if we consider what the money was been spent by Infosys in buybacks, about 40,000 crores has been spent across four buybacks. Today we are talking of another 18,000 crores. So 58,000 crores has just been, I would say, squandered away for short-term gains as far as the Infosys stock is concerned. In my opinion, this is a heavy disservice to long-term investors. If I was a long-term investor in Infosys, I will sell off and just move away to some other promising stocks. I'm not a SEBI registered advisor. Just please take care that this is just my analysis based on what has happened. So yesterday, as I said, Nifty cleared quite a bit of hurdles. Then you had a bank, Nifty Bank really came into its own, especially public sector banks, because as I said, the Manthan is happening, the program where they want to revitalize the public sector banks happening. So there is some interest in public sector banks. And then metals gained for the fifth consecutive session. IT was the top loser, including Infosys. But I think today Infosys may be very, very different. Auto slipped into the red for the third day, though the top management of autos are expecting fantastic returns. I'll come back to that. So what happened to the FIs and DIs? FIs continue to sell 3,500 crores. DIs bought more than them at 4,000 crores. So what are the cues this morning? Dow Jones went up by 600 and odd points, and it made an all-time high. Nasdaq made an all-time high. So did S&P. So everybody is sitting at all-time highs, and we are struggling here at 25,000. You had August core CPI numbers which came in yesterday. I mentioned it yesterday, and I continue to mention that they are being manipulated by a person who is very close to Trump, who is now heading the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So you will get to see such poor numbers, or rather numbers in favor of a rate cut, and they will force the Fed to do a rate cut. And when the Fed does a rate cut, when inflation is increasing slightly ever so right now, is that the precious metals will tend to gain. So that is why we are having between 40 and 50% in precious metals. Bond yields got smashed yesterday. US 10-year yield in the US fell as low as 4%. Just recently people were talking about 5%. I've always held that view that sooner or later we will see 3%, at least 3.5 and 3%. Some shrewd analysts are talking of going to 2%. So there's some other news. SEBI has floated a consultation paper on moving weekly to monthly settlement. I think they're the best thing which SEBI can do, because they would have seen that 93% are losing for the last 5 years money in options. And basically these weekly options have been the killer. And this is not any hedging mechanism. It looks like it's more of a lottery mechanism. And I think better that they eliminate it as quickly as possible. I'm in full support, though, the brokerages who are dependent on their income by these weekly options will be the vociferous opponents. But I think the government has realized that is why they have banned that games, online games, and this is like an online game only. So as I said, what are the head honchos of autos who were talking? I just saw Maruti Suzuki head honcho who talked of a bumper festive season with 15 to 20% growth over last year. That if it happens, it will be spectacular. Normally, the growth is about 10%. So he's talking 15 to 20%. Let us see whether that is correct or not. Same thing with this Hyundai, who's also talking of GST cuts will really reinvigorate the industry. We have to observe it, because autos generally are not doing well for the last 10 years. It's not only now, but they are saying this phenomena will change. So let us look at it optimistically, but I have my own doubts. Now, on the other hand, people who are lending to the auto industry or lenders, for instance, a sobering thought from Mr. Arul Selvan, who's the head of Cholamandalam Investment. In fact, he's reduced his guidance from 20 to 23, from 20 to 23 to from 20 to 25. So basically, he says we'll grow at 20, even though very good GST strategies adopted by various people based on the GST reduction by government, but we will not increase our growth by more than 23%, whereas pre this GST cuts, he was talking about 25%. So obviously, he's sensing something in the economy which is not going to be great. So today, IT stocks will be in focus, because I'm sure TCS and Wipro also and HCL Tech also will be forced to do buybacks. So there will be some interest there. There will be some interest in autos, because the head honchos are talking about it like this. There may be Texmac or rail companies are doing well because they're getting orders. But I've always told that I've always had the view that the orders don't mean anything. And then to add a little bit of uncertainty, you have the US Commerce Secretary yesterday on CNBC USA talking about he will teach India a lesson virtually. So you have to look at it. And then you have the confirmation hearing where the US ambassador nominee to India said, we will see to it that India will move away from Russian oil. That is what the US Commerce Secretary also said. So for every time we talk of positivity from Trump, you're seeing the bad cops who are trying to create uncertainty. So we are bullish and we continue to be bullish, but we're not screamingly bullish, because we've moved on to 40 to 50% in precious metals. So whatever you do today, I hope it is successful. Thank you for joining me.